pledge allegiance to the moment of silence for non-violence in the country. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, do those roll calls. And I think I'm just going to call the virtual because they're here. So, Senator Brewster, you on?
Yes.
You?
Yes, I'm on.
Thank you. Representative Piscatato, are you on? Okay. Allie, are you on? Allie Doyle? Yes. All right. Beth, I'm looking for approval of the minutes of September 29th, 2023 regular meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So with that, and report our CEO, Kathy Cohen.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Friday after Friday. My goodness, good day. May I please have a moment of silence for the following retirees who passed away in September. Operator Brenda Eduardo, Service Person Martin Strader, Accounts Payable Specialist Francis Babbitt, Substation Maintainer Robert Stewart. I'd also like to take a minute to join our friends from SEPTA in the morning. The loss of a bus driver who was shot and killed yesterday. Today also marks the 5th anniversary of the Tree of Life shooting here in Pittsburgh Squirrel Hill, which is the deadliest attack on the Jewish community that this country has ever seen. I also have a moment of silence for our 11 neighbors who passed away 5 years ago today. Thank you. I know we have numerous people here today who would like to talk about our most recent service change. Welcome. Thank you for making sure that we can hear your voices. Change can be hard. This was a big change. We're encouraged by the broader public response. We know that change is rough, but people are adjusting. We have a quick turnaround from the November board meeting. We'll be back up here in 3 weeks. I hope to be able to provide a little bit more data on what we're seeing going on the street. Now, last month, we recognized 17 operators who had a very strong record of commendation. And today, I have the privilege to recognize 4 members of our customer service teams for their hard work, their diligence, and for delivering exceptional customer service. When we joke that folks are grumpier than ever, our customer service team is continuing to deliver great results for those taking care of them. The goal of customer service is to give our riders the information they need to get where they're going, provide an outlet for feedback, and help as much as possible in providing the type of personal care, attention, and respect that our riders deserve. These employees embody that goal. They've been deemed to be the top performers for using their time efficiently, having the fewest number of cash handling errors, having quality calls and in-person interactions, and the greatest number of commendations. So when I call your name, please come forward to accept your award. For the first quarter of the year, Diane Cantwell, who could not be given the name, Dawn Schmidt. For the second quarter of the year, Jared Carson and Robert Thomas. Thanks for, and to everyone in our call center and our service center, your contributions to PRT in our region are hugely valuable and greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Speaking of customer service, we have been getting feedback from folks about the bus doors closing and they're not on the bus. Maybe they are walking up to the bus. Maybe the bus is pulled off and you see somebody at the intersection. Maybe if somebody wants to stop and it's not in there. I want to remind folks that a bus weighs 30,000 pounds empty and an Arctic weighs 44,000 pounds. So if the driver is moving away from a stop and shutting the door, they're not being rude. We do not want to take the chance if somebody's getting close to that bus and they get hurt, they slip underneath. We will not win. The bus is going to hurt you. We also want to make sure that we can stay on our schedule. So when a bus is moved away from the stop, as much as I want that bus to be able to come back, downstream, we're going to have somebody else reaching out to us about this bus is never on time. It's always stopping. It's always stopping. Missing a bus can be painful. It can be the connection that you can't get to where you want to go on time. Missing a bus by a few seconds is even worse. If someone's missed a bus, so if you've missed it, like even those 10 seconds, please be safe and wait for the next one. Running for the bus is not worth falling, and it's not worth the injury that could go in. Again, we know it's frustrating. We want to keep you safe. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about a program we've been working on for quite some time. A lot of folks have heard about Ready to Ride. That is our no-face ticketing app where you can get your ticket for your bus or your train. We're excited to announce Ready Cash for riders who have a smartphone, but they don't have a bank account. With Ready Cash, you can receive our lowest fares and free transfers even if you're using cash to pay your fare. So this opens up the getting that tap and you're riding for 3 hours as opposed to paying every time you get back. You can download the Ready Ride app. You create an account, and then you can use cash to add money to your account. Anytime that you ride, you'll be able to get that stored value benefit without having to go back. About 6% of the population in the U.S. can bank, and when we look at cash users on our service, we're anywhere from 2 to 3%. Obviously, some routes are higher, some routes are lower. Ready Cash represents one more option for our riders, and I look forward to announcing more options, particularly for folks who don't have a smartphone in the near future. And finally, I want to ask everyone an important favor today. One of our mechanics at our main shop in Manchester, Keith Miller, was diagnosed 2 years ago with non-alcohol related cirrhosis of the liver. He was put on the organ transplant list. He's been there for 2 years, and he desperately needs a liver. I'd like you to consider spreading word for Keith and his family by sharing any of the posts you see on social media. Keith is also a candidate for a living donation, which means someone can register to donate part of their liver. Your liver grows back within 6 to 8 weeks, and you can save a life. If that's not something that, for whatever your reasons, that you can consider, please share this information broadly. Let's do everything we can to make sure that our member of the PRT family is taken care of. And Mr. Chair, unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the report of performance and oversight committee. Whoever tells me that.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Performance Oversight Committee met last week and I have 4 resolutions for your consideration. The committee first reviewed 4 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures and the prices to be fair and reasonable. Performance Oversight Committee recommends the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of approximately $1.9 million. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board to approve this resolution.
I have a motion.
So,
There's a second.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
PRT requires agreement firms to provide temporary technical and clerical support services as needed for employee absences, vacancies, and additional workload. In November 2019, PRT entered into agreement with a pool of firms to provide these services on an as-needed basis with a not to exceed amount of $1 million for an initial term of 3 years, with the option to extend the agreements up to 2 additional option years as the sole discretion of PRT. In September 2022, the board authorized PRT to exercise the first option year with no increase for the total not to exceed amount. The Performance Oversight Committee now recommends extending the term of the agreements for the second option year with the following firms: Intergen Incorporated, Diswriter Incorporated, Global Solutions Group Incorporated, Atrium Staffing LLC to November 30th, 2024, with no increase in the previously authorized not to exceed amount. Fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
There a motion? Second,
Second.
any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The PRT requires a pool of law firms to provide legal services as an on an as-needed basis. The pool will consist of up to 5 law firms in various fields of law. An RFP was prepared and publicly advertised, and the firms identified on Exhibit A in their respective fields of law and have been determined to be the highest rated proposals for the performance of the services. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends authorizing PRT to enter into agreements with the firms identified on Exhibit A to provide services for an initial 5-year period effective January 1st, 2024, with an option to extend the term of the agreements up to an additional 3 years at the sole discretion of PRT. The committee also recommends that the law firm of McNeese, Wallace, and Europe LLC serve as solicitor for PRT's board due to McNeese being the highest rated proposer. And finally, the committee recommends that the law firm of Campbell, Durant, and PC serve as PRT's primary legal counsel due to Campbell being the highest rated proposer. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
There a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, carries.
The final resolution seeks an authorization for PRT to recommend agreements for general planning services. In July 2021, PRT's board authorized the award of agreements with HDR Incorporated and Michael Baker International Incorporated to provide these services in the 3 categories of place-based planning, network planning, and organizational planning. The original not to exceed amount of the agreements was developed based on the projected cost of anticipated work to be completed. Due to additional projects, including the work connected with PRT's strategic plan, an increase in the previously authorized not to exceed amount is needed. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends increasing the total not to exceed amount of agreements by $2 million to allow for contractors to perform services through the current firm. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved. So
Is
moved.
there a second? Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Now we'll move on to report of county stakeholder relations. Carried on today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, and stakeholders. The county and stakeholders relation presented that last week. Of the few items to go forward. First, Assistant Director of Planning and Service Development, Ellen Newman, presented the bus line redesign project overview. The scope of this 21-month project will include a comprehensive redesign of the entire bus network and is a priority project for the agency's next long-range plan. Many transit agencies undergo redesigns all regular intervals, and this is an opportunity to study the great pandemic travel patterns and to take advantage of the opportune timing that promotes ridership, equity, and inclusion. People better access to frequent transit, create a simpler bus network. This will include data analysis of population demographics and trends, cell phone travel data, performance of the existing network, planned capital projects, and will include a heavy public engagement component. 24 pop-up community events will be held around the county, as well as meetings to seek operator and union input and all transit divisions. There will also be online engagement with a survey of public meetings in November 14th and 16th. The project is expected to wrap up in the spring of 2025 with the proposed new bus network design with implementation plans to follow. The second item is the Allegheny County Transit Council met on October 25th the acting chief development officer, Amy Still, to provide the council with an update on some ongoing planning and engineering projects, and then spoke with the group about the service changes presentation process. Senior Service Planning Stevie Matthews presented the bus line redesign project overview to the council. The next scheduled meeting of the council is on November 15th. The Committee for Accessible Transportation did not meet in the month of October. It was scheduled to meet Thursday, November 2nd. Unless there are any other questions, that concludes my report to Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks, John. With that, we'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee from Chair Emily Moore.
Good morning, Chair, fellow board members. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 19th. The September financial results were presented at last week's meeting by Acting Chief Financial Officer Dominique McBrown. It was reported that total operating income for the month of September was below budget by $276,803 due to lower access shared ride revenue and slightly lower passenger revenue. Total expenses for the month of September were below budget by $3.7 million, primarily due to lower wages and benefits from vacant positions, although every expense category was below budget for the month. Total subsidy for the month is $361,325 above budget due to a timing issue with state operating assistance. Through the first quarter of FY 2024, total operating income was above budget due to higher interest income and passenger revenue. Total expenses through the first quarter were $13.9 million below budget, with salary and benefit savings due to vacant positions accounting for $4.5 million of this variance. Total subsidy through the first quarter was $598,619 above budget due to higher state operating assistance. It was also reported that PRT invoiced $11.7 million against the CRISA federal stimulus program and ended the month of September with approximately $310.6 million in cash reserves, which was an increase from August due to $56.8 million in state operating assistance. That concludes the report of the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Finance Committee? Okay, that will move on to the report of the Technology Committee.
Thank you, everyone, and lost my voice. My husband's happy, but I was not with my benefits. So the Technology Committee met on October 19th, and we have 3 items, 3 resolutions to consider. The committee first reviewed 2 bids. The first was a one-time only extension to the rail automatic passenger counter project, with the second being for support of the SAID, which is the PRT's help desk software. The committee determined these bids to be in accordance with the PRT's procurement policies and procedures and prices to be varied. With that, I respectfully recommend the board to approve this resolution.
I have a motion. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
The committee next reviewed a resolution to extend and amend an agreement with PRT's hosted interactive voice response services in our customer services area. The initial 5-year contract in 2017 included 3 optional 1-year extensions. This is the second 1-year extension for the contract. The Technology Committee recommends amending the in-house transportation LLC to extend the agreement for 1 year and authorizing an increase in total not to exceed amount of $1,269,567 to $1,402,243. With that, I respectfully request the council members approve this resolution.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The final resolution reviewed is to authorize the PRT to enter into an agreement with the division of Oracle PeopleSoft Training Services. PeopleSoft software is used for all human resource and finance functions at the agency. Technology Committee recommends awarding the contract to Oracle PeopleSoft Training Services to Sphere FC Consulting with a total not to exceed amount of $200,000 for initial 3-year period. With that, I respectfully request board members approve this resolution.
I have a motion.
So
Second,
Second.
okay, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, I don't believe we have any new business. If you want to have a comment, I'll call you if you come up with a comment. Please from Jimmy in advance when I see him rude, we have 3-minute time limitation and I, first one, you can look at it, so I have to cut you off if you're going on beyond it. So I apologize to you in advance. I'd love to hear everybody for as long as they want to speak, we just got it. Okay, so then the first speaker is Deb. Go ahead. I also apologize for anybody saying they
Hi there. I spoke at last month's meeting when I first found out about the changes to the bus routes. And I will say in the 1 month afterwards, it's horrible. I live downtown in a luxury apartment, not a low income one. And there's a lot of college students who don't have cars and things like that that use the buses. But nobody can figure out where the buses go. When I used to go to places such as Costco or Waterfront or whatever, the 61D would come every 20, 30 minutes. Now, the bus that I find that goes there, an hour and a half. So that's a substantial difference. And when you talk to the bus driver, oh, it's because we don't have a lot of people. And you kind of wonder, 61D was standing room only. Did anybody really consider that when they adjusted the routes to adjust the other ones taking over? The other one is if I go grocery shopping, I have to go 0.3 miles in order to get to the bus stop I need to go. And it goes by the homeless church and all this other stuff. So if you carry groceries, you know, it's not very reliable. And I'd also like to point out when the woman who spoke initially was talking about, oh, well, you know, people get cut off from some of the buses because the bus drivers want to keep on time. And I'm going to throw a BS flag on that because that hasn't been the case. If you want to see a really reliable bus service, go to Tokyo, you know, where the bus drivers care and they stop and they do all this other stuff. I've seen people running to the bus and they're only maybe 10 feet away and they're waving their hands. Bus driver doesn't care, you know, and it hasn't started moving either. So I will say, I hope you guys reevaluate what's going on, the changes that have taken place downtown through whatever the construction you're talking about. I can't figure out how to get connecting buses. I have to call customer service because my app doesn't pick them up, you know, and if a bus has a number or a bus route has a number, or excuse me, a bus stop has a number, you don't know where they are, especially if it's not one you've taken often. So you have to call customer service, and that's kind of a waste of time. So a lot of these things, I don't know who you're benefiting because as a finance person said, you're underrunning every year and you guys keep cutting. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Next speaker is Paul Gallagher.
Community organizer with Pittsburghers for Public Transit. And today I'd like to bring up a conversation that was tabled several years ago, which should be raised now again that the PRT is moving towards completion. As far as we know, Pittsburgh Regional Transit is still planning to implement an off-board fare payment system with the BRT, where riders will be paying their fares at kiosks at bus stops and then randomly checked by armed PRT officers, which was a measure the agency proposed for the T years ago. At the time, riders were overwhelmingly opposed and went to great lengths to lay out the concerns and reasonable solutions to the issue. Under the current proposal, when someone is not paid or seemingly not paid their fare, transit riders are charged under the criminal justice system. If they are found guilty, they face a fine of $300, more than 100 times the transit fare, or 30 days in jail. This proposal is alarming to us and should be alarming to everyone else.
These penalties are extraordinarily harsh. By contrast, parking meters are enforced by unarmed parking authority workers. Violators get a $25 citation, and drivers are not criminally charged for not paying the meter. Moreover, we know from non-transit related interactions with officers in Allegheny County and from stories from all over the country that putting Black and brown riders into regular contact with armed officers endangers their lives. And because many transit riders around the country are youth, similar processes enacted in other places have accelerated the school to prison pipeline. This process jeopardizes immigrant communities in Pittsburgh. These fair enforcement checks can and have resulted in detainment and deportation of undocumented community members in a state that doesn't allow undocumented immigrants to also obtain a driver's license. This is a terrifying prospect that could upend people's lives. San Francisco has fair ambassadors check your ticket. If you haven't paid, they have a handheld device where they can help you pay on the spot. If you can't afford to pay, they check to see if you're eligible for a low-income fare program, the likes to which we're hoping to have permanently implemented in Allegheny County soon. And then they help you sign up for that program. I'm here to bring this concern back to light before the PRT is built and implemented. We ask that you not place riders in danger by considering a policy that would result in racial profiling, injury, or arrest over $2.75. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bernadette Mosey.
Darcy has told my elected officials First Transit is a done deal and is closing sooner rather than later. Driver told me that they were told by Airstar that First Transit's going bankrupt. False. Karen is pushing earlier closing and taking away more territory Airstar cannot handle, hurting passengers. There are clearly not enough drivers in this system now. Denials for services at a terrible level. Marion Manor just shared with me that 5 chaired passengers were denied medical trips. One was post-op. You had a driver pulled over on Banksville Road and refused permission by the cop to continue. Over the radio, it's like Peyton Place, we heard them looking for another driver. This is all due to a plan put together and union evils to close First Transit, the only union provider. I just found out last night out of curiosity, looking up on the dockets, because we're being told, my elected officials are being told, you can't be a broker and a provider. That was in the contract. NAMS, according to the Pennsylvania dockets in a lawsuit, is owned by Transdev. Broker. NAMS is a provider. I can only take away that this is a union bus. First Transit is the only provider that was a union. I'm furious over this. I am a multi-generational transit union brat. My cousin was murdered for fighting for the unions. Pittsburgh is a union city. Somebody up in here is being manipulated. Karen Hesh wants to take away most of the territory come Monday. Yet I was told by Ms. Kellerman that this was pushed to March of 2024, which would give them time to revisit this failed plan. I was dumped at the Rooney Sports Center at 6:30 in the morning for a 9 o'clock appointment because UPMC told me, well, if they are making you come an hour late, tell them your appointment's at 8. Luckily, I had a chair and I was still able to go in. This plan is horrible. And why do you have a Viola, whatever it is, Transdev, a for-profit Wall Street company buying a nonprofit? This stinks. My elected official says this needs to go to the state auditor general.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Greg. If you look,
I've been here a few times now. I am a Carfree resident of Beachview. I want to begin by saying I deeply believe it's a privilege for me to be here. I don't think it's easy to make time to come here. I think you all don't make it easy enough. Not everyone like me has a job that pays them well enough and is flexible enough to push around all their commitments and come on a Friday morning. And there's very little other levers for accountability here. So I feel compelled to keep coming back and keep telling you what it's like for writers. I'm not convinced that any of you all ride the system that you're tasked with operating. So today I want to talk about the same threads that I've spoken about every other time. And again, I'm so busy with work. I didn't have time to prepare and practice a whole statement. So I'm going to speak off the cuff. But reliability has been tanking all year, and you don't have to take it from writers. You can look at your publicly available dashboard and see the trend line going down all year. And the fact that bus on-time reliability is now 64%. Literally 1 out of 3 buses are guaranteed to not come on time if they come at all. So compound that with the very, very poor communication to riders. You've heard from riders today who are confused about the service cuts. In my own experience, it's been a lifeline to finally get true time service alerts pushed through SMS, something that I complained about 3 months ago and finally happened. But guess what? There's still very important service changes and alerts that are only going to Twitter, like literally the worst communication platform that you could choose right now. I'm sorry, I should call it X. And so that's just, it's just a total losing combination that is going to guarantee that you hemorrhage more riders. I don't think anybody at this point is choosing to ride PRT because it's easy. I think they're riding it because they have to, and they have no other choice. One of these issues alone would be fairly easy to navigate if the other was complementary, doing better. If service reliability was in the tanker and I could actively find information easily, if customer service was available during all operator hours, I could navigate that lack of reliability. And the reverse, if the communication is horrible, I could navigate that if I could, have some kind of semblance of reliability and knowing that the bus or train is going to show up as scheduled. The trains have their own set of technological, anyways, thank you.
thank you. The next speaker is Betty now is very nervous.
I'm sorry, I catch the 89 Garfield Commons, which goes up into Garfield to get a place which is a senior, the elderly people live, and a lot of seniors on walkers and wheelchairs. The bus picks us up, takes us all the way down to Beatty Street in East Liberty. And then where he goes from there is at the garage. We do not want to go to the garage. We came down to, we're used to let us off at Target, the grocery stores, McDonald's. Now it's taking us to their garage, and then you have to try to get back. There's not a stop. There's not a shelter where they decided to put a new stop for the 89, which is on the snowiest, coldest avenue, Holland, for the seniors and the elderly and the ones that are on walkers to go now. It's on Holland Avenue. If any of you lived in Pittsburgh or know where Holland Avenue, you know it's the worst, the coldest, and the windiest. There's no shelter there, so you're standing waiting for it. Sometimes the bus was 40 minutes late. Picked you back up there. We didn't come to downtown to East Liberty to go around the bend and up to your garage. It takes you nowhere else, nowhere. Takes you down to Beatty into your garage and then comes back to Beatty and takes you back up to where you live at. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I called your customer service the first day they did this. I talked to a Larry. Oh, well, the schedule hasn't changed. The schedule has changed. Not on paper, but on the avenue. And he says, well, I'll ask my manager. He goes and asks the manager. He says, that hasn't changed. If anyone here today can explain this schedule for the 89 to me, I'll stay after class and listen, because it has no stops. It has, you go from Liberty, you go Fern and Mossville and Garfield. You go all the way down to Beatty Street in East Liberty. That bus, where it goes, I don't know, but it winds up at your garage. You have no transportation for the senior, but I'm getting on a bus that says the Pennsylvania Lottery pays to get seniors and elderly where they need to go. Not so with this. The 89 is the most horrible one. You have a 71A, a 71C, and a 71D that does not even take you into downtown Pittsburgh anymore. You go to Oakland, where if you have a stroller, if you have a wheelchair, Pittsburgh is the coldest, windiest city in Pittsburgh. We have snow. So you're going to have people getting off their bus to go on something to get in town. What are you going to do on Christmas night, on Thanksgiving, when they're having everything down in downtown? But you have to get on the buses that take you down there and go to Oakland. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. The bus drivers don't know where they're going. We get on, where are you going? They're not telling us. We've got a new section, and that's it. But anybody wants to help me with this schedule, please.
And next speaker, Kelsey 11.
When I became a new mother this past year, commuting for work and childcare meant a lot of wasted time away from my infant, while we sat in stressful traffic among distracted drivers. Drawing on my experience as a long-term PRT user, we turned to public transit as a solution, and we started commuting by bus. It was a great alternative. It was less stressful, it was safer, and I had quality time with my baby. However, the cuts to the PRT lines have made this no longer a viable option. The longer wait times have resulted in a far more stressful and unreliable commute. The buses are so crowded that my baby and I often cannot get to eat, and it has resulted in the front of the bus becoming overwhelmed with wheelchair travelers. One afternoon this week, as we waited for the bus at 3 p.m., not exactly a rush hour, the crowd of passengers at the stop quickly became overwhelming. When the bus finally arrived, the rush of people created a tense atmosphere on the bus. While we managed to get a seat, there were people arguing about personal space, seats. It was just an uncomfortable space. When the passenger next to us needed to get off, he was unable to get up and move towards the front of the bus. So the bus driver ignored his request. For more than 4 blocks, his screams went unanswered. My infant became visibly upset and scared by the justified outrage of the passengers. As we approached our stop, we had to fight our way through the bus, and she was terrified. That day, I told my husband, never again. This is just one of many examples of negative experiences that I've personally had on the PRT over the last few weeks. Public transportation used to offer a safe and reliable way to reach work and childcare. It has become unreliable, unacceptable, and uncomfortable. For many people who rely on the bus, including mothers and children whose wait times have gotten longer and buses are more crowded, this often results in less time with their families, more stressful commutes, and a decreased quality of life. The buses are a lifeline for people in our community. For some of us, they just offer a small way to squeeze more time with the ones we love, whether that is through riding together or being able to depend that the bus is going to be on time so we can get home to our families. Reliable public transportation is essential to a county who says they put people and families first. I urge you to reconsider these comments.
Good morning, I'm Gina Anderson, a certified land use planner. I've lived and worked in many countries on infrastructure and industrial projects and used public transit in Manhattan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Portland, Oregon, and now Pittsburgh. I did manage the feasibility assessment in Kazakhstan's largest city on whether a light rail or BRT should be built. I am well versed in the engineering and design decisions that are made in BRT systems. I spoke to you as a board at your last meeting and tried to impress on you that the so-called BRT as now planned will not create meaningfully shorter travel times. It is being touted as a great speed improvement, which it will not be. What is accurate, however, is that our transit service has had alarming decreases in quality over the last several years. The bus service cuts to many routes on October 1st were made with little to no communication to those affected, producing significant hardship. And there have been no substantiated reasons given for the rush to make these cuts. Neither have there been substantiated estimates of the impacts to service users. Such estimates should always be produced to allow prudent decision-making, especially decisions that affect the essential travel of thousands of users. There was a rush to institute these changes without a transparent explanation of their necessity. There was canvassing done of transit users in the past week. I won't speak to that because others have covered that. Today, I urge the board, all of you, to direct PRT management to reverse the service cuts of October 1st until it provides substantiated estimates of the numbers of service users positively and negatively impacted, the parameters of these impacts, the neighborhoods of the impacted service users, and other important service factors, and also require PRT management to assess how to proceed at that time. I also urge the board to exercise its authority to commit PRT management to address the grave service declines over the past several years, to include a transparent process with stakeholders and transit users, and to direct PRT management to then plan and take steps to improve service quality as its responsibility to the public of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. I thank you for listening. I did notice a couple of people did not really want to listen. This is a serious issue. You have positions of responsibility, and the people in Manhattan don't have to deal with nonplussed board members. And I don't think we should in Pittsburgh either. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lynette Courtney.
Good morning, Chair and board members. I am here as a concerned citizen. I am a retired PRT employee of 25 years. I have served as a bus operator, also as well as a traffic surveyor. Working in those roles, I have seen the impact that service changes can create for individuals and communities. I have seen many adjustments made to the schedules and trips during my tenure. I am saddened to see what this leadership has done to our system. They have destroyed an essential structure of the downtown, uptown, and Oakland corridor and placed unnecessary hardships on our riders. The lack of transparency to the public on what their plans were is most disappointing. Was this because PRT would have received a lot of pushback from our ADA communities, our senior citizens, and disenfranchised poor people? They should be ashamed of themselves for creating yet another boondoggle that Allegheny taxpayers will have to foot the bill. I challenge you as the decision makers, each and every one of you, to walk in the shoes of the people that are impacted by your decisions. Never should a passenger with mobility issues or any disability be disrupted during a trip that was operating for years with no issues, and now they must transfer vehicles and pay twice. Not such a drastic choice of the number of units turning short in Oakland and not coming downtown. It clearly could have been every third bus that turned short. But to eliminate and cut off those throat routings to come to the city, unacceptable. Shame on PRT and its entire leadership, because you guys have overpromised and under-delivered. Leadership of this should reevaluate and start anew with competent decision makers. I ask that you maintain your mission statement of advancing our region by investing in our communities and connecting people in a safe, equitable, and reliable manner. Do all of you believe that these changes are already being implemented will remain consistent with the mission statement? I believe not, since it creates unnecessary burdens and disruption to the very people you're supposed to be serving. In conclusion, I would hope that with the next pick, that you reconsider, modify, and reverse your decision. Thank you for your time and attention. Lynette Berkeley.
Morning. My name is Morgan Sikowski. I was here last month. I am here again to read a statement on behalf of a fellow transit user, Laura Safransky. Good morning. My name is Laura Safransky. I have lived in Pittsburgh for 21 years. I do not drive due to vision issues and ride public transportation regularly to get to and from work and medical appointments. The quality of PRT service has steadily declined. I've lived in Beachview for 13 years, and the Red Line light rail service used to be very reliable. Now we have to contend with light rail cars that are routinely out of service with little to no notice. When the transit bridge over Route 51 suffered damage during the freeze of January 2022, resulting detours were handled so poorly for Beachview residents that relied on the Red Line as their sole means of transportation to get out of the South Hills. While bus shuttles were provided to take riders to the South Hills Junction, there was no schedule created so that riders could have a confident way of scheduling their workday, doctor's appointments, other needs. Without having definite pickup times, many of us spent upwards of an hour standing in freezing temperatures, sleet, snow, rain, waiting for a bus shuttle that would end up packed with so many riders because we didn't know when the next one was going to come. With these new cuts to service from downtown to Oakland, it makes getting to medical appointments uptown and in Oakland more difficult for those, like me, that have critical medical appointments to keep. In June of this year, I received a life-saving kidney transplant, along with 3 other procedures, all in one very large surgery at UPMC Montefiore. I'm finally back to work, but that means I have to get to my doctor's appointments myself, and public transportation is the only method I have. What normally takes 15 to 20 minutes by car to get to Mercy or Montefiore now takes well over an hour, depending on the quality of PRT service provided that day. The lack of consistency is astounding to all of us riders that use this service. Along with the cuts, there were other schedule adjustments that affected riders. I take the 86 to and from Bloomfield for work, and there have been so many nights I have waited over an hour for a bus that already has very infrequent service times of every 30 minutes. Stop I use is on Liberty Ave and South Millville Ave. It used to be a time stop, and now many time stops have been removed. The 2 closest time stops are at Center and South Bagley and Liberty and Fort. Having such large gaps between time stops leads me to believe that the inability to consistently keep a schedule led PRT to cut times, to leave the schedule deliberately vague for riders to reduce the amount of complaints to the service center. I'm at the point that while I rely on PRT, I have no way to know on any given day if I will make it to work or appointments in a reasonable amount of time, short of leaving my home hours earlier than I need to for those appointments. This is no way to run a transportation service. Reverse the cuts.
My name is Sierra Collins, and I'm happy to be here. Not really, but we're going to talk about October 18th, October 19th, October 20th, October 23rd, and October 25th. Those are all my doctor's appointments. And that's just only some of them. October 23rd was a very important appointment. I had knee surgery 4 months ago. It's not healing correctly. I had to go see a plastic surgeon. Well, my appointment, I was going to get a 15-minute grace period. I got to 25 minutes after my appointment. That's not fair to me. I've ran the bus since I was 7 by myself. I'm 49 years old. I've watched this system. I've watched how good it was and I know how great it can be. But to be 25 minutes late to an appointment to make sure that my leg is healing properly, because it's not, and then have to sit there for almost 2 hours to be seen because I was late, unacceptable. October 25th, another appointment that I was 20 minutes late for. Also, missed the grace period by 5 minutes. Guess what? Had to sit there for an hour. Why? Because I was late. October 25th, 3:30. My son with Down syndrome gets off the school bus. Guess what? I wasn't there. I didn't make it to get him off the bus. I had to call somebody to get my baby off the bus. That's not what I do. He doesn't like that. He doesn't feel safe. Having a child with disabilities and being disabled yourself is a lot. This year, April 21st, 3 years that I've lost my hearing. So I traded in my car keys for a bus pass. I didn't ask for this. I almost lost my life. But because I don't feel safe driving, I rely on you guys. And relying on you guys has been the biggest disappointment of my life. Because I can't get to my appointments. I can't get home to get my son. And that shouldn't be how the system is made. Because it's never been made like that. I've watched the system. I've been able to catch the bus all over the city of Pittsburgh. I've sat down on the corner of 5th and Smithfield and watched the buses ride past people because they're not stopping at the corner. They're stopping up at this next stop. Some are stopping at the corner, some aren't. These drivers need to know where the stops are. And when they get the stops right, then they're not missing buses. I got pictures of bus drivers riding past people because I know for a fact I've caught that bus on that corner. The drivers are picking and choosing where to stop for the people. It's not fair. I don't run for a bus. I can't. I had double back surgery. So guess what? If the bus is pulling off, I let it pull off. I just wait for the next one. But waiting for the next one, remember, it inconveniences my life because I am a mother of a child with Down syndrome. So when I have my day set, I need my schedule.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Grishman?
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, your audio is very choppy, just so you know, on the online thing. So if anyone takes a moment to respond, that's why.
Okay, any better?
I think it's just when people are applauding, I'm not sure, but in any case, hi, my name is Elisa Grishman, and I've been a Pittsburgh public transit rider for 23 years. I am disabled and I use a power wheelchair. I live in Uptown, an area that's being disproportionately harmed by the new cuts in service for the 61 and 71 bus lines. In less than a month, since the changes have been put in place, I've lost count of how many things I've been late to because no problems were solved by cutting bus routes. The buses still travel in clumps, there's just fewer of them. I've also gotten passed up more frequently by buses with no room for a wheelchair, although for that I can't be sure if the cause is the lack of buses or the new and highly problematic open stroller policy. Along with Miss Tira there, I have had appointments that I've missed because I was so late, and I left early knowing that the bus cuts had happened, and I still was refused service because I was more than 15 minutes late. I've actually been riding the bus less than I normally would because of the need to transfer. I attempted one grocery store trip post bus cuts and found it so frustrating to need to take 4 buses to get to and from my store and to try transferring with all my groceries on the back of my wheelchair that when I get home, I cried. No exaggeration. I literally just broke down crying on my couch. Since then, I've asked friends with cars to pick up stuff for me so I don't have to deal with buses. I don't know about you, but that to me feels like the opposite of efficiency. Also, as a side note, there are a large number of detours downtown and uptown right now with no detour signs on any of the stops, which is making things even worse. I even contacted uh, Kurt Conrad about the one in Uptown, and there's still no sign, a week later saying that there's a detour happening. All the routes that are downtown, all the 61s and 71s being rerouted. None of the outbound stops have signs saying the buses are no longer going there. So I keep having to tell people waiting. Access to public transit is a necessary service and not a privilege, and it would be nice to see the PRT board of directors treated as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next speaker is Christina Anderson.
I currently live in the Bluff neighborhood of Uptown, a few blocks from Mercy Hospital, Forbes, and my roommate and I have lived here for about 2 years. We moved here in consideration of the bus lines and commute because Loki drives I commute almost exclusively by bus. I work 2 jobs. One is based in West Homestead, but often includes travel to projects around and out of town. My second is in Point Breeze, near the Homewood neighborhood. I have been late for each of these jobs 4 times in the last week due to the buses either being too full and passing me or just not coming at all. So I've been late, but this late on top of me needing to leave the house significantly earlier to catch my new route. I could either catch a connection in Oakland, but that to me is just 2 buses I could possibly miss. I could walk 10 extra minutes along Boulevard of the Allies, across the Duquesne footbridge, standing along the highway on the landing of steps that since the beginning of October have been partially closed in preparation for construction repairs. Or I could walk just a few extra blocks, catch the inbound and stay on and go outbound. But that's at least 20 extra minutes as well. I anticipate this will also get worse and more challenging as the weather turns. For all of these things, not just for work, but for grocery shopping, for doctor appointments, and for leisure. Along this bus route used to be access for me to Giant Eagle, Aldi, Target, Trader Joe's, and the East End Food Co-op, among many other things that were regularly visited. In my recent complaining to friends, coworkers, and family, it has been brought up to me that I should get a car, start considering saving up for a car, but the solution isn't more cars in Pittsburgh trying to navigate the roads and find parking, etc. We need reliable, accessible, and sustainable public transportation. These changes do not make Pittsburgh more livable. On behalf of myself and others affected by these changes, I implore you to reverse the cuts. I desperately miss this 71C. Thank you.
My name is Kanika Haruna. I'm a resident of East Liberty Boulevard. East Liberty, living on East Liberty Boulevard. And I'm a bus rider. I'm here today to share with you how the 71A and the 71C has, how it's been for me and how cutting it off is, from going downtown is atrocious. I work at the PPG Paints Arena. And now that these buses are not to, be able for me to catch them, it's hard for me to get to work. I do catch the 71B, but there's times where I have to leave early now, a lot earlier before 2 o'clock just to be at work at 3 o'clock. And there's times if I miss that 150 bus or 155 bus, there's a 215 bus that I have not I've seen it once in the last month, and it wasn't in East Liberty. It was literally in Oakland when I was standing waiting for another bus because I could not continue to keep waiting on the 215 and having to walk all the way up to Penn Highland to try to catch the 82 or trying to figure out if I can catch after 2:30. Yeah, is there already traffic in, Oakland itself? And was late multiple times to work, and it's an inconvenience. Also in that there's also, there was a time that I tried to, I was leaving work and I was just trying to get to my destination, going towards Oakland, towards home. And the bus passed me and the gentleman at Duquesne University trying to catch the bus out of town. The bus stopped and was like, I can't let you on the bus. It's too full. I've been passed up multiple times. The gentleman at the bus stop, I was like, let's go down there and catch the bus back on Fifth Avenue. And maybe we can try to get a seat on the bus. He said, look, I'm just going to drive. This is an inconvenience. I'm about to be late for what I need to do. And it's not the first time I've tried to catch the bus out of town. It's even in the morning or at night, and the bus continues to pass me up. So now I just catch the 71B and just get home after midnight. I used to get home at 11:30. Now it's like after midnight and I get up at 11 o'clock. And it's an inconvenience. Now it's Christmas time, Thanksgiving's coming around, and now we got light up night and all these things coming up. And I work, like I said, at the PPG Paints Arena, and the traffic is even worse. So it's going to continue to be more and more inconvenience, just not for the businesses down there in uptown, but for people that are bus riders and live there to try to go.
Thank you. Our next speaker is the PRT. Okay, our next speaker is Susan Observatory. Susan Observatory. That's more Susan Observatory. Okay, then our next speaker is Jonathan Franks.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So my name is Jonathan Franks. I've been a rider on from the South Hills for 18 years. Commuting into Oakland daily. I work at the University of Pittsburgh. And the past year, and especially this past month, has been the worst commutes of my career. My trips have gone from an hour from door to door to an hour 30 or an hour 45 each way. I've expressed my anger with these cuts and these issues over the past year, and I'm met by customer service, good customer service, I have to admit. I'm glad they got awards today. But they give me polished public relations statements like, you'll just have to adjust your commute to allow more time for travel. Well, that's nice, but let me tell you what that looks like in reality. You guys aren't running the double-decker bus tours. You're not running the ducky tours. You're running a system that needs to be reliable. People can't adjust. You're not running just buses to Steeler games or Pirate games. People rely on you to get to work, get to appointments. The last figures that I looked at was over 200,000 people commute in daily. It's probably fallen since those published data points, but because of the unreliability. Your cuts to the downtown and Oakland buses, they consistently make everybody late. I haven't had a commute on the light rail system where at least one of the red line, blue line, silver line trains hasn't been cut. For most days, there's 200, 300 people waiting down in Steel Plaza. And the reality is families can't magically make their buses and the drop-off times for schools earlier. allowing more time for travel is ridiculous. What happens is we end up being late for work, late for appointments, and you're going to get people fired. You're going to get people lose hours that they rely on the money that they get. So I ask that you just consider the real world impacts of your decisions on these cuts and reconsider, please.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Marlene of the Golden.
My name is Marlene Dorban, and I work at Carleton University. I am a teacher there, and I did have to leave a little while ago to come to speak with you because it is such an important matter to me. I have been riding the bus all my life. I do not drive a car because of a medical condition, and I am glad to share that with you. On my usual commute before October 1st, I would only wait 5 or 10 minutes for a bus to go to Oakland. Now I am waiting upwards to 20 minutes. This has caused me to be late for work numerous times. And since I am in the school, they have to get a sub in there till I am able to be there. Not only are the buses routinely late, but the overcrowding is unbelievable. Part of the reason I am so late to work is because sometimes buses show up so packed, I can't get on the bus. Then I have to wait another 15 to 20 minutes. And I had to research this. I wanted to know what was the maximum capacity for a bus. I was told it is 25 people. This morning, I counted everybody who had to stand on the bus, and it was 22 people. To me, this is so unsafe. And in the times we're living in now, with the COVID pandemic and other things that are happening in our world today, I feel this is so unsafe for us riders. And so, but I've never really been uncomfortable to get on the bus, but I am now. And, you know, I'm looking at maybe after retiring after 19 years at Carleton because I cannot fulfill my work, duties. I'm supposed to be there at 7:30. I'm walking in at 8:15. So that was, I really want to thank you all for, taking this time to listen to me this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next of the speakers, reminder that our next regular meeting was on Thursday, November 16th. And with that, we will stand adjourned.